Okay, great. So this morning we're just going to focus on LGS's online approval platform, and it's really about how you can deliver your content faster, manage it easier, and get things reviewed and approved in a much more efficient way. So as a marketeer or creative, or even if you're in an industry where you're just in an audit and process-driven organisation, the responsibility for you guys to build, great content, great documentation, and so on, is becoming, ever more. And that review and approval process has never been more business critical than it is right now. If done right, you can gain back a lot of time and actually, do what you're good at rather than managing approval cycles. And if it's done wrong, it can actually cost quite a lot of money and time to the business and yourselves. And I know we've talked about rich media content, and you've seen in the emails rich media content. And with that ever-growing channel, that multi-channel reach, rich media content is becoming way more important in that approval process. And not many companies today really have an efficient way of approving that content as well. So we're going to take you through that live today and then focus on the rich media content towards the end. And today, as I said, we're going to talk through some bits, but the key goal really is to understand that using technology can really reduce your project delivery time. It can allow you to create fewer revisions as you're moving through that process because everything is collated in one place. And also a reduction in proofing management effort, simply because you're not tracking and managing everything. And then, as I said, later in the demo, we'll focus on rich media content and how utilising our ProofHQ solution can streamline that, focusing quite heavily on video, HTML5 websites. So we're just going to run through a review and approval process that you guys might be familiar with already. And we'll just take the role of the person on the left here who's actually creating that file, and that file needs to be approved. And then they're sending that email over to the co-worker for them to review that. She sends that back with her feedback and markups that need of their attention via email, but also has forwarded that file on to other people in the office that might need to review it. And because you emailed that file to your co-worker, you don't know where that file's now gone because you've lost audit of that, you've lost track of that file, and you don't know that that person sent it over to 3, 4, 5 more people. And that can become quite stressful, if you've got deadlines looming and so on. So as feedback starts to come in, but with more and more stakeholders and more opinions, you now have to keep track of all that information. And you're the person that has to make sure that all of that content is collated from everyone, and you also have to determine what's relevant, what needs to be worked on, what's unimportant, and what changes need to be made to that file. And as you're trying to make revisions as that comes in, you're getting more and more feedback from different people. But it's not just coming back in from emails now. It's coming from emails. Some people might have printed documents and drawn on that and wrote on that. People might have left post-it notes, come up to your desk and actually told you some of this stuff. So what really happens here is that feedback gets lost in multiple, different channels, and some of the comments might be the same from different people, or they might actually be conflicting. So you're actually getting confused about what you need to achieve with the file. And the result of that, multiple versions are created, and instead of just being that content creator, you're now becoming a version wrangler and trying to keep track of everything that's going on with the file. And just a few stats really, because comments are lost, no audit trails are tracked properly. An asset might be completely incorrect, it might not be in brand, and your company can actually face a fine from hundreds of thousands of pounds. Companies are wasting money on the design team. They're having to create the same piece of content too many times with very little changes. And almost 15% of your working week could be wasted in a result of poor communication and having meetings about meetings and and trying to determine what actually needs to be done with that document. So I hope that kind of, you guys can see that is a case in point, that why you're on this call today is in fact that's the approval cycles that you perhaps are going through at the moment, your end, and the next stage is for us to look at a solution around that. What you guys might not know or appreciate is that focusing on improving your review and approval process can actually make the entire creative process more streamlined and effective. So instead of trying to give your team more hours, you can give them more time within the hours that they actually have, so they're not doing overtime all of the time and so on. And you can actually get a real measurable ROI in a short amount of time by using ProofHQ. And again, just to focus on the 3 key stats that we show here. So what we're going to do before running to demo, we're just going to take you through a day in the life of a creative team that weren't using ProofHQ and the challenges they came across, and then implementing the ProofHQ system and go through that. So we're going to introduce you to the Swains team here. They're actually a fictional creative team within an organisation, but it's their busy time at the moment, and they're in the middle of a mid-launch of their new Ranger brand. And we're going to focus on a particular asset that they need to run through that review and approval process, which in this case is a microsite. So we're going to take on the role of Rick first, who's our graphic designer. So he was the first person in our example earlier. And Rick, as a graphic designer, he used to have to circulate assets via emails, hard copy proofs. He forgot who was in that review and approval process every time, so he would just send it to that one person, and as we saw in our example, that one person would then filter out all of the different versions and comments that needed to be made, so he's now getting really tied down with all of the feedback that's coming back. And he has no visibility of the proofs that he's managing, right? So with ProofHQ, he has one central location for all of the proofs that he's involved in, and he can easily generate new proofs. So once he's finished his version 1 of the website, which in this case is just a high-res mock-up in PDF, he can circulate that for the review and approval process via ProofHQ, and he can click on the new proof button. He can select his 2 PDFs in this instance, give them a name, and then every time that the Swains company are creating a new web page, they have a specific approval path that they need to follow. And again, Rick at the beginning didn't remember or know all of the people that were associated with that approval process each time. So with ProofHQ, Rick can simply attach the workflow that he needs to adhere to for this web page, which has been set up in the back end by the ProofHQ admins. And with ProofHQ, you can have an unlimited number of workflow templates to select from when creating new projects. So it could be website, one workflow, it could be print banners for another, and so on and so on. So he's going to select the new web page approval workflow. And what we can see here is that it's actually attached all of the steps that this review and approval process needs to run through before it can actually go live. So the workflow identifies to Rick that all the stakeholders that need to be reviewed need to be involved with each step, and so therefore Rick doesn't have to think about which people he needs to include in his review and approval process, because it's all here for us. He can tag the file with some metadata as well, so track which region or which stores this is going to, and then that can be used later on for reporting purposes and all that sort of stuff, which we're not actually going to get into today, but just to very highly touch on that. So then once he's created that proof, he can see that everyone involved with the first approval stage, so the creative review, has been notified via email with the little sent icon that you can see in green here. And that's it for Rick. So Rick's now happy. So he's got a single location where he can view all of his active proofs. He can involve all of the stakeholders at the appropriate stages. And the key thing is he only has one revision of the proof to manage, because everyone is being invited into that one proof, rather than emailing the same proof out to 20 people. So if we get to that creative stage now, which is a guy called David White, who's the creative director, he used to write feedback on the printout hard copy, but he also lacked visibility of the other stakeholders in that feedback. And as the creative director, that was obviously quite important. Because he was working on his single file, he couldn't see what was going on. And because of that, he would then create meetings and hold meetings with his team on a daily basis just to see what's going on with each proof, which was obviously wasting a lot of time, right? So with David, he receives an email from the system, and within that email content, he can actually see who is involved with that approval process at his stage straight away. He can see that it's a new proof, who it's for, and if there was any deadlines associated to that. So once he clicks the new proof button, that actually takes him to his approval platform within ProofHQ. He can pan over the two documents that we see here, so we've got the 2 pages. He can zoom in and zoom out of that file, he can rotate the file and so on. But actually what he's going to just do in this instance is start giving his feedback. So he clicks on the add comments button that you can see at the top there. And he can see straight away that actually that's not the right logo that they want to use for this microsite. So he can actually highlight that. He can start typing in his comments, as we can see here. But what he can also do is, if he's got access to it, he can actually attach the relevant logo that he wants Rick to use when he creates his version 2. So he can find that logo and attach it to the proof. Now, obviously what that's doing is it's allowing Rick to not have to waste time searching or going back to David to say, okay, that's fine, but which logo do I use? Because in one foul swoop, David has identified that there's an issue and he's actually given him the correct file to work with moving forward. What you'll also notice here, that David can actually see that there are other members of his team in that stage that are also on this proof at the same time as him. So as you saw at the beginning, when he has no control over the other stakeholders that are in it, he can actually live see what's going on with them and who's actually logged into the platform at this point. And he can see that Dwayne has actually written a comment. And he can click on that comment and he can see what Dwayne's written, right? So he can see that he's asked a question whether that was the right bag to use. And as David is a creative director, he can actually reply to that and say, no, it isn't. Good spot. Now that means there's no more confusion or conflicting comments, right? If we go back to our example, as all the team members can agree what is correct on this same file within ProofHQ, and Rick can then view that conversation and know exactly what needs to be done when he starts creating his second version. He takes a look at the second page. As you can see that this is now highlighted, and he can zoom in on the text as well. And he notices within the text that we're calling this a handbag, but actually it should be called a satchel. So there's not only just markup tools within ProofHQ, but there's also text extraction tools as well. And you can extract a word, a paragraph, a letter, but in this case we're just highlighting one word. And then he's writing his comment around that as well. Now he can also add that comment to be actioned to fix this comment for Rick as well. So he's made all of his changes. He's now reviewed the 2 pages. It was fairly simple, and he's going to finish his review and he's going to say that changes are required, and then he's going to save that that decision. And what that does is that pushes that information back to Rick to let him know that them changes are required. So now with David, he's collaborating in real time with his team. He can make actionable suggestions on the changes to be made, so there's no conflicting comments. And he knows, as the creative director, what stage each of the proofs are at all times. If we just go back to Rick very quickly, when the feedback was coming in, if we go back to our example, he was having to manually compile all of that feedback from various sources, hard copies, emails, over the phone, whatever it may be. And he was receiving conflicting feedback from the stakeholders. So now we're going to show you how Rick can take that feedback within ProofHQ from a single location and actually create that version 2 a lot quicker. So Rick logs back into his system after receiving the email that changes required on that document, and he can go to that range of brand and click the go to proof button straight away. And then he starts kind of thumbing through the comments to see what people are saying about the first version that he put together. So he clicked on the logo first of all. We can see the comments up here, but we can also see that there's a little number here as well, which is showing us that there's an annotation there. And he can open that up, and he realises he used the wrong logo. But fortunately for him, David has attached the right logo for him to be able to easily swap out when he's creating his version 2. And then he does the same for Dwayne. He can see the comments and notice he didn't use the right bag. And then he can also see that they want to change the terminology of that text. So with all that feedback consolidated into one location, Rick knows what changes need to be made straight away. So he can then go into his InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, or whatever creative tool he's using, and put together version 2 of that microsite. And he can keep ProofHQ open on a second screen so that he can just view through all of them comments very quickly, very easily. So once he's ready and he's completed his version 2, he can simply go to that same proofing project and click on the new versions button, which he'll then select his files. He's obviously going to use the same workflow, and then he's going to generate that proof. And we can now see here that we've got our V1 and V2 tabs, and that our workflow has actually reset itself back to the beginning. So it's now going to go back to David. So now Rick sees all of the feedback in one location. He doesn't have to compile all this information, which is saving a hell of a lot of time for him. And he knows exactly what items to take action on. So there's no confusion about what needs to be done. Back to David now. He's the creative director, as we know, and it's his job to compare the versions and make sure that all of the annotations were actually changed within that file. So, beforehand, he used to get confused with all the track changes between multiple versions. He'd have to print them out and look at them side by side, which was just a bit of a nightmare for him. But he also didn't know where that feedback came from because he didn't get sight of all of the versions and comments that were going back to Rick at the beginning. So he didn't have full control over what was going on. So again, he can get notified by email that there's a new revision. You'll notice this says new revision and not new proof. And he's just going to open that proof again. He's not going to just pan around this version 2. He's actually going to click the side-by-side comparison functionality, which will allow him to bring up version 1 on the left and version 2 on the right-hand side. And then he can then start going through the comments. And as we can see here, that Rick's changed the logo. So he can actually say to himself, great, that comment's been resolved, and actually mark that comment as resolved with this little tick icon here. He can do the same with the other documents with Dwayne, and again he can validate the changes that he made, click the resolve button, and move on to the next comment. So hopefully you guys can see that by having this process in place, it's actually helping reduce the number of revisions that need to be made for each project, going back to our 3 stats, by up to 30%, because we're actioning every comment and being able to pinpoint every comment. And we can see here the satchel and the bag, and that's all good to go here. So at this point, David's happy with that, and he can go ahead and make his final review that he's approved that file and saved that file down. And you'll now notice that the creative review stage has gone green, and it now moves on to the production manager. So David can now compare all the versions that he needs in real time, and he can easily validate the correct changes that are being made within the files. So we take on the role of Joan. Joan's the production manager, and she was the one that was manually carrying around the job jackets or the job bags from person to person through that approval workflow with all of these hard copy prints that were going on and so on. So she used to have to manually track the review process in spreadsheets also. So Joan, again, hopefully this site's looking a bit familiar to you guys now, but she can easily see the status of the proofs that she's managing and the proofs that she needs to review within her dashboard. And again, she can go to the range of microsite and she can click on the Go to Proof button. She's also going to just do what David just done, which was the comparison tools, just to make sure and see actually what other comments were made previously before she's even been notified that this proof's on the system. And she can make sure that all of them changes have been made as well, pretty much as a second validation. She can then close the comparison tools to review version 2 in the full screen mode, as we see here. And again, she can drill into the text in this instance, and she can notice that, you know, the word was changed. However, now there's another issue with the file. So she can then add her own comments, and she can say that she doesn't like the wherever being hyphenated, for example, because it doesn't look great. And she can then put a comment there to change that for when the digital team put together the live website. She can then finish her review, and she's actually going to approve this file, but there are also changes required. She doesn't want to click changes required because then that would take the workflow all the way back to Rick, and she wants it to carry on moving through that approval process because the deadlines are approaching. So as long as they know that it's approved but with the changes that she requires, you know, we're good to go. And again, you can see that production manager step has been fulfilled, and we're now at digital review. So now the digital team is going to go off, and they're going to put together the live website based on the high-res mock-ups that we've just been reviewing. Okay. And while they do that, you know, Joan can go back to her ProofHQ platform, and she can go to her dashboard and work on any of the other projects that are in her Proof to Review tasks. She also has the ability to see what statuses each of her projects are at, or proofs are at, and if she needs to, you know, move it, action anything because they're in the late pile or at risk of going over the deadline. Joan then gets notified that the digital team have completed a portion of the workflow, and we're now ready to upload the version 3 of the microsite. But in this case, it's no longer a high-res PDF. This is the actual website that Joan now needs to review. So getting into this whole rich media content world. So she's going to open up them web pages, but it's still within the ProofHQ window, as you can see. And you know, she not only can she now see all of the previous changes that were requested and implemented, but she can actually make sure all of the links work correctly, taking her to the right pages once they click on the hyperlinks or the images within the website. And of course, as you can imagine, without ProofHQ, that wouldn't be possible. She would have to, you know, just review the still imagery. And even if the digital team did create a website and put that on a hosted server somewhere, she wouldn't have been able to make any comments on it, you know, within this live environment as we are within ProofHQ. So she can click on the bag, which actually takes her to the second page of the microsite that we've been looking at. And she can verify now that the changes have been made and the wherever is now not hyphenated, it's been put onto the next line. So at this point, she can write any more comments if she wants, but she's going to just confirm everything's good to go. Obviously, of course, you can leave that blank as well. And she's now going to approve that file and save that down. So at this stage, you know, she can be sure that not only the design and content is correct, but the actual web page will behave how expected when it actually goes live to the web and out to the clients. So, as you can see now, all the steps have been complete, and we're ready to go live with that Ranger brand microsite. So now, with Joan using ProofHQ, she has a real-time visibility into proof she manages. She's confident that everything, you know, is on brand, and she knows that the website is going to work before it actually goes live, which is a key thing for them. So that's really a quick introduction into ProofHQ. You know, here are some real life examples that that ProofHQ manage. We've got over 3,000 customers at the moment, and there are currently over 15 million registered users on the platform. So can you just imagine how many emails were being bounced around before they start using the system if there are 15 million users on the platform at this point?